Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just waiting for more people to join in. We'll start in a minute or two, please.
If I craze, I go craze for you. Nothing there, but I did with you. For the night, baby, why? All the things that I feel for you is not strange, but oh so new. Would you give me your love tonight? Just tonight. If I say don't go, tell me would you go? I do go. If I say let's go, tell me would you go? I do go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a woman, it's a woman. It's a woman, it's a woman. I do. It's a woman, it's a woman. It's a woman, it's a woman. Baby, why? All the things that I feel for you is not strange, but oh so new. Would you enter the cave tonight to feel alright? If I say don't go, tell me would you go? I do go. If I say let's go, tell me would you go? I do
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on today's section on Give Love Another Chance. It's quite interesting. There are a lot of people who actually want to give love another chance. So I really appreciate you all for for joining us today. If you're an old participant and if you're also new, I really, really welcome you today. So before we actually comment to this section, please let's just have a very short prayer. Let's put this in the hands of God so learn something. So please let's close our eyes. Thank you so much, Lord, for everything you've done in our life, for what you've done in the life of our friends, our family, our spouses, and our soon-to-be spouses. May your name continue to be highly exalted in the mighty name of Jesus. As we're about to learn something from today's training section, oh Lord, may we not be hearers alone, but also doers in the mighty name of Jesus. And may we impute every valuable advice into our relationship life. In Jesus' name, we've prayed. Okay, thank you so much all for praying and joining me to pray. So I'll be moving on to a colleague of mine who is the not just my colleague, but the founder of this organization, Mr. Dari Asobele, who will be giving us a brief overview on what ASADS is all about. Thank you so much, Mr. Dari.
All right, thank you so much, Henrietta. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, depending on which part of the world you find yourself. So my name is Daria Sobele, founder of ASADS. ASADS means Anti-Suicide and Depression Squad. So for us, looking at the stats of every 40 seconds, someone takes their life globally. And so you have every year 800,000 people dying by suicide. In Nigeria, we're over 200 million, and we do not have up to 1,000 registered mental health professionals. So what that means is that one person has to attend to about 200,000 people, which is important. At ASAS, we have a buffet of mental health solutions. We have a WhatsApp community that has close to 1,000 people. We also have a Telegram community that has close to 1,000 people. So every Monday, we have mental health conversations on our WhatsApp community. And then every Friday, we also have conversations in our Telegram community. We also have our free mental health trainings that happen every second Sunday of the month from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. West African time. And then we have our support group that happens every last Saturday of the month, basically. Then we also have access to mental health first aiders. At the moment, we have over 30 mental health first aiders that can listen to you, all for free. We also have access to mental health professionals, local and foreign as well, that you can also use their services for. You could also volunteer with us for 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. I would also warn you that we are very strict on our principles and our systems just to always be able to deliver value, basically, right? For today's session, we really want you guys to enjoy yourself. Mr. Tunji is one of the very first professionals that took a chance on Assad when we first started our first support group in March 2018. So it's a privilege that we'll be hosting this. We know, like in Nigeria, people are getting married and getting divorced quickly, and there are a lot of issues. And so we know that this session, we will still want more. So I'm hoping Mr. Tunji might want to maybe do a part 2 or see what he can be able to do to help us out. But don't let me take your time. So thank you so much. You can also share this link to friends and family. We are also on YouTube, so you can always go back and rewatch the session. So yeah, over to you, Henrietta. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Dari. Um, okay, so today, like Mr. Dari said, we'll be listening to Mr. Tunji Babajide, and I would be calling on a very dear colleague of mine, Lua, who will be giving us just a brief overview on who Mr. Tunji Babajide is. Thank you so much, Lua. All right, Lua, you can start. We are waiting for you. Okay, I think
Very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mr. Tunji.
yeah, Lua, you can start.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Orolua. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Tunji Babajide. Tunji Babajide is a dedicated life, relationship, and marriage coach, specializing in integrative coaching with a passion for helping individuals and couples achieve transformative growth. Tunji combines various coaching techniques to address the unique challenges faced by his clients. His approach is unique. His approach is holistic, considering the emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of personal development and relationships. Tunji's expertise lies in guiding his client through life transitions, improving relationship dynamics, and fostering deep and lasting connection in marriage. His empathetic and insightful coaching style empowers clients across the world to unlock their potential and achieve meaningful change. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Tunji Babajide.
All right. Thank you so very much, Arolo. Thank you for the ASAT team for having me today. Also, before I start, I also want you guys to, in the comment section, please can you help me celebrate Dari, the founder of Assad. Dari is one person I so dearly admire, because it's not easy to put people together. If you have ever been in a community before, you know how many people have different opinions. And I didn't even know it was this long. It's 6 years of Assad. Wow. I remember the first day it came to me and we had that conversation. Me being who I am, I believe that everyone's got a chance. And someone took a risk on me. So I just took a risk and like, let's start, let's go, let's do this. It's such a joy that Assad is 6 years. I can't even wait for the 7th year anniversary. So Dare, well done. I want to thank the team. Only eternity will be able to let you know how much impact that you have had in the life of people globally, from the UK to the US to Canada to South Africa. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. And I pray that God will continue to strengthen you. Having said that, I'm going to hit the ground running because for me, this is a topic. I didn't just do this because I just wanted to do it. And I've been doing coaching and therapy for about 15 years now. And the reality is about 17 years. The reality is that I've seen many people who have given up on the topic of love. And it's very, very understandable because we have many social media, absolute statements on social media that is quite misinforming. There have been quite some stereotype perspective. So maybe also I need to acknowledge everyone. If you have been heartbroken, you're on this call, perhaps you had fixed your wedding and just before the day you had to call it off, or you have been betrayed by a friend, someone who you've been friends for a while with, and finally you broke up, or perhaps you have just been betrayed by a friend, a colleague at work, or perhaps you've been married for a while, then your wife or your partner pulled the plug and you're in this state. I totally understand what you're going through. And for those who haven't been heartbroken, I think it just makes a whole lot of sense for you to come to terms with the fact that it's good to have a lot of tools in your arsenal. All right. So I'm going to try my best to talk for about 35, 40 minutes. If you don't have a notepad and a pen, then you'll be doing yourself a long thing. So I want to appeal to you to get your notepad because I'm going to say quite a number of things. At the end, I've got an offer for people who joined in. Okay. So I believe so strongly that it will be good for you to wait till the end. Now, if you have been heartbroken, what are the things that you need to do? Let me start by saying that when you've been heartbroken or you have been betrayed and perhaps you have made up your mind not to give love another chance, I need you to learn to separate the event from your choices, right? The guy or the lady broke your heart, but you have a choice to choose the interpretation that you're going to give to what has happened. Now, there's a difference between events and choices. One of the mistakes a lot of people make when they're heartbroken is they make up their mind not to give love another chance. Perhaps there are other people around them who what has happened to them reinforces there's what we call confirmation bias. So that confirmation bias is fan to flame, and they begin to feel men as calm. Can there still be love and all of that? So my first point for us is you cannot say you don't want to make a choice. Not making a choice is a choice of your own. You see, when you know that you have a choice to choose what interpretation you are going to give to what has happened to you, you are already empowered. Now, because of low-level awareness, low-level introspection, many people come out and say, oh, Tope has broken my heart. Oh, Emeka broke my heart. My life has finished. And I always like to make this analogy. So I work with different people. Early last year, I got two ladies reached out to me around the same time, and they were both survivors of rape, And one came to me and said, coach, my life is finished. My life is finished. This guy, he had raped me. I can't do anything in my life again. My career, everything is finished about me, because we got into a session. She got out of that state. But it was a lot of struggle. But there's another lady who came and said, coach, I have been raped. But after our session, I'm going to start an NGO to help people who are victims, survivors of rape have a voice. Wow. Two people, same incidents, two different interpretations. So one of the things I want to start with is the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, you have a choice of how you interpret what has happened to you. Okay? The choice is yours because there are things that you cannot not do. You cannot make a choice. Not making a choice is a choice. So many people that I've spoken to that I've been privileged to work with, the first challenge I always see with them is they have a totally wrong perspective about the interpretation they're giving to what has happened to them. Because there are two types of interpretation. Some people give a disempowering perspective to, what has happened to them. And when you begin to feel like your what has happened to you, you're a victim of it, you'll be disempowered. It's like your immune system is not in place. And when you're in a disempowered state, if you go into another relationship, you will get into that same loop again. And that's why there's what we call there's what we call relationship data. What is your relationship data? Why are you attracting? Especially for if it's the first time, it's okay. But the bigger problem or the bigger question you should attempt to answer is why are you attracting people who break your heart? Because if you ignore your patterns, you will remain in that loop and you will keep recycling what has happened to you. So the first thing is you have a choice. And I think that you will do yourself a lot of good if you decide to have an empowering perspective to what has happened to you. Number two, you need to learn to have what I call radical acceptance. Now, radical acceptance is in the midst of your choice, you now decide to give a disempowering thought. Now, let me give examples of a disempowering thought and empowering thought. A disempowering thought is, oh, this guy broke my heart, the lady broke my heart. And I'm not even sure that I'm going to get married again. It looks like I can't make marriage work. It looks like, I have trust issues. And by the way, let me put this out as a caveat. There's nobody that has a trust issues. Everybody has a choice issue. And they're two different things. Because it's not that you don't want to trust again, it's that out of what has happened to you, you are picked out of the several options to choose not to trust again. And I'm going to unpack that towards the end. But you've got to have what I call radical acceptance. Now, radical acceptance is the pathway to healing because you can't even totally love again if you haven't come to terms with the fact that I accept what has happened to me. I acknowledge the pain because many times I see people who don't want to acknowledge the pain. You are pained, you are heartbroken. Someone who had promised you love, someone who perhaps you had shared your body with, someone who you had shared your dream with, you decided to pull the plug. All right. So you've got to acknowledge the pain. Too many people, they're in denial. You say, I broke my heart, but it didn't pain me. No, it didn't pain me. Because no. Start by recognizing the emotional pain. Start by acknowledging that this caused you discomfort. You are experiencing discomfort, because accepting the reality as it is will help you start that journey, So the situation is not that you are maybe feeling defeated. No, it's just that you have come to terms with the fact that until you accept, because there's no one that heals from what they have not accepted, sadly so, So accept the reality that you are heartbroken. Acknowledge your pain. Don't live in denial. I always like to make this illustration. I've been in conflict resolution sessions because I'm a certified conflict resolution practitioner, and officers have called me to come resolve conflicts, individuals, communities, and you hear someone says, Coach, I'm not angry. I'm not angry, Joe. I'm not angry. The way you are even saying you are not angry, it's written all over you that you are angry. Okay, so many people who live that way, they live in that denial, and then that loop, if that thing happens, and you see, one thing about denial is it eliminates your options. So that lady, whatever might have happened to her, or that guy who is living in denial, one thing denial does is that it eliminates your options. Because if that same thing happens to you 90 times, you would respond to it the same way 90 times. And that's what I'm saying. When you are in that state, it's like when your immune system is down. If another guy comes your way again, it will break your heart because you would even choose from a heart that is not even healed. So what I say to people who come for my sessions is, once your heart broken, at least you need between 3 to 6 months to heal. because just like malaria, if your immune system is down, the reality is that malaria parasite will infest in you. Typhoid will, you have typhoid, you have a flu, So it's important for you to come to terms with the fact that going forward, I've got to acknowledge my pain. You know, life sometimes is not fair, and I totally agree with you. But you now not being able to say, if this is what is happening, these are my reality, because a difficult part of radical acceptance is recognizing that life can be unfair. And I totally acknowledge that. And sometimes painful things happen without a clear reason. And I want to say that again. Sometimes painful things happen without a clear reason. So rather than focusing on the injustice of the guy, you can remind yourself that that pain is a part of the human experience and that accepting this truth can reduce your suffering. It can reduce the impact of your pain. Okay? So that will lead me to the next point. I need you to feel your emotions without judgment. Now, I always say to people, you've got to allow yourself to feel your emotions fully without labeling them good or bad. So emotions are not good or bad. They're not, let me put it in another way. So anger can be, so many people say anger is a bad emotion. No, anger can be a good emotion and it can be a bad emotion. Emotions are bad. It's what you use them to do that determines whether they're bad or good. Okay? So when you are angry about something, it takes you to a point where you are now beginning to ask yourself, so why did this happen? A lot of people focus on the what. What happened to me? What did it do to me? Many people don't ask the question, why did this happen to me? And when you change your perspective from, what happened to me to what happened to me, from what happened to me rather to why, or from why did this happen to me to what is this trying to teach me, you begin to learn from your mistakes. So many people, their default mode is to be judgmental, self-judgmental. They say things like, even if I knew, I should not have even dated him. I'm even more than himself. Why did I even agree for him in the first place? You can't grow or you can't heal when you have a judgmental mindset. Okay? When you do radical acceptance, it doesn't mean that there's what we call passive resignation. It's not that you are resigning to fate. That's my life. No. Once you have accepted the situation and the emotions that come with it, you can now focus on what is within your control. That takes me back to my first point. The choices you make, they are within your control. What the guy or the lady had done to you, they're outside of your control. Because in life, write this down, there is the circle of control, there is the circle of concern. Now, many people overwork their emotions when they are concerned about what they can't control. I want to say that again. Many people overwork their emotions when they are concerned about what they can't control. All right? So whether you guys call it dating or you call it courtship, the truth about it is that courtship time is not intercourse time. Courtship time is a time where both of you are attempting to see whether this will work. Dating time is attempting to see whether this will work. Okay? So someone asked me and said, someone said to one of my producers to me, said, well, I was in courtship with the guy and he broke up, the courtship failed. I said, no, you're getting it wrong. So when you are in courtship, it's either it will fail or it will work. Because it should be a means to an end. If both of you at some point begin to see that, there's what we call ecological analysis, being able to look at the fact that, okay, this is the background you came from, that's the background you came from. It looks like a couple of things, our values are not aligning, there's a conflict in our values and all of that. I don't want to go and get distracted with that. But the reality is that stop labeling courtship as failure when it did not end up in marriage. That's one mistake I see a lot of people make. Okay? The journey or the purpose of courtship is not primarily to make marriage work. It's not primarily to lead to marriage. The purpose of courtship is both of you to give it an attempt to see whether it will be. So if it ends up that you broke up, courtship did not fail. If it ended up that you married, courtship did not also succeed. The purpose for it was just expressed. Okay? So let's get that. Don't forget I said something in the beginning. You know, you have the power of choice. Some of you have a choice to go and watch Arsenal match. You have a choice to have traveled. You have a choice not to be in, in the session, but you chose to be here. The same way, you don't have a control. You don't have control over what the guy who or the lady who broke your heart did, but you have a control on how you, in the interpretation you give to what has happened to you. Okay, so it is low level introspection that make people give too much power and say narratives like, "Oh, Emeka broke my heart, Daniel, yeah, I didn't wanna, Daniel, you disbanded me and you left me, no." The reality is you've got a choice to interpret it, no matter what has happened. I know, oh, you gave him your body, you gave him your money, you paid the school fees, you paid that school fees, but it didn't work. I agree. When people say things like that to me, I ask them, so what did you lose? They say, I lost money. Okay. Is your token still with him? No. Does he sign your checks? No. The problem a lot of people make sometimes is they when they break up with someone, they now begin to say things like, I'm not going to love again. All men has come, No. In fact, if I'm going to take us back a bit, the reality is that before anyone goes into marriage, they need to first do a mental health assessment. It's funny how many people don't understand that when you want to do marriage in the church, let me use that context. I know we have Muslims here also. They'll tell you to do genotype test, do blood test, do all of those tests to see whether they're compatible. All right. And I'm sure in Assad, they've told you before, yes, to not marry, yes, and all of that. And I don't want to flog that. But the reality also is that how many people really do a mental health test? Because marriage is a journey. And if you're going to go on that journey, you must travel light. The baggage some people are bringing into dating and courtship, ooh, it's a whole lot. Okay. So it's important to know that I have the right to choose my interpretation. You see, someone asked me, so what are the benefits of radical acceptance? When you do radical acceptance, I didn't say acceptance, I said radical acceptance, because when you do radical acceptance, you are making a choice. It might not be the best option of the choices, but you got to accept that this relationship is over. You will grieve the future you have envisaged. You will grieve the time you've shared together, But when you do radical acceptance, one, it reduces your suffering. Because by accepting the reality, you stop adding layers of emotional suffering on top of the pain, which can bring relief and peace. So you've got to admit the fact that, hey, I've admitted this guy's not going to come back. Okay? Another benefit of radical acceptance is it empowers your healing. When you accept the reality, because there are people who have lived in denial for years. I've worked with people who I have to help them take radical acceptance, because radical acceptance frees up emotional energy, allowing you to focus on solutions, allowing you to focus on self-care, growth, instead of being stuck, in that same loop where I'm just telling everybody, this guy's spoiled my life, oh, all of that. So radical acceptance, number three, increases emotional resilience. The more you practice radical acceptance, the more you build emotional resilience. Okay? And that will now enable you to handle future difficulties. It makes you to have greater calm and strength. Okay? I always like to make this example, practical example. If you're healing from a relationship breakup, radical acceptance might look like this. Or let me say this, without radical acceptance, you will say things like, this shouldn't have happened. I don't have what it takes to make a relationship work. And all of that will just put you into that judgmental state. Don't forget, I said in the beginning, you've got to switch from self-judgment to self-compassion. There's one exercise that I practice for my clients, and it's called the inner child therapy, and is to help people rearrange or redesign their self-talk, negative self-talk. So a particular client of mine, I told her to write the things she said to herself. Put two chairs in front, sit on one, then I told her, what's the name of your best friend? She said XYZ. I said, okay, the things you are saying now, write it out. She wrote, at the time I'm like, and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. I said, okay. So this is, let's say Titi, for example, is the name of the person. These things, I want you to say it at the top of your voice. And she said, Titi, you are so foolish. Why did you even date the guy? Your head is not, I mean, all of the words. So I said, how did you feel saying that? He said, is that what I've been saying to myself? I said, yes. You have been in a state where you have deployed negative self-talk. Because a lot of us, we will not say to, you know, our friend what we say to ourselves. But many people don't even know. So for the brevity of time, I want to encourage you to switch from a disempowering narrative to an empowering narrative about the incidents. I agree he broke your heart. I agree he was lying to you. I agree he dated your girlfriend and your best friend. I agree he slept with maybe your friend. You know, you've got to first, and if you're here and you know what I'm saying applies to you, we're going to get into a practical session now. I want you to get your pen and a paper and identify this empowering narrative you've had about the situation. Start by, becoming aware of the story you are telling yourself. Because there are two types of story. Some people tell themselves disempowering stories. Some people tell themselves empowering stories. So write down the disempowering story you are telling yourself about the breakup. Now, a disempowering narrative sounds like this always happens to me. I'm not good enough. I've not done BBL. Even those who have done BBO, they have, babe, it's my fault. I can't even make relationship work. This proves to me that I can't trust anybody again. Even church guys are they I've had all sorts. Those are disempowering narratives. Now, when you have this kind of narrative, you will feel stuck, you will feel helpless, you will feel victimized. And I want you to write that down. When you have this empowering narrative to what has happened to you, what will happen? You will feel stuck, you will feel helpless, you will feel victimized. Now, the illustration for that loop is what I said about malaria. Thankfully, I know that people that are outside of the country, but please permit me if you can't relate to malaria. It just looks like something we can all relate with easily. The reality is, you've got to come to terms with the fact that when you're in that loop, you will be without immune system. So I've seen people who, they just broke up, but so that they can spite the person who they dated last. They found another person and they're like, whoa, A or B, call. I'm in another relationship. Meanwhile, this guy too is a fluke. And truly, let me also put this in perspective. The reality is that our parents made us grow at the expense, we grew our mental capacity at the expense of our emotional intelligence. Now you hear parents say things like, oh, you got 7 A's. That's my girl. She finished 2-1 on Unilag. Some of our parents even gaslight us when we don't do well academically. But how many of you can put in the comment section that one day your dad said, if you stop shouting on my driver, I'm going to buy you ice cream. How many people, so that's how a lot of people grew up. So another thing that was installed in us as a something to note, so that I will help you know why you act the way you act. A lot of us, what was installed in us was conditional love. What is conditional love? Conditional love is, if you do well, I love you. If you don't do well, I don't like you. Right? So we now grow up and get into a relationship. All of this, my money is your money. Your money is our money. It's an offshoot of conditional love. Okay? All of this, and I know there are quite a number of unique accidents here. So you have a lecturer saying to you, let me give you a mark, then you open your legs. That man, they installed into him and he never really filtered it. Now, some people filter it, so it is not generic. What that man is doing is conditional, like, how can I give you something for free? The same thing happened in our civil service also. You see things like, come and get a contract, then I'll do this for you. It's all conditional love. Now, you now get into a relationship and you're wondering why, okay, I was the one that paid for the food the last time. You should buy something for me. Now, as much as there cannot be love without giving, It should not now be a yardstick to be doing a banter. But all of those things were installed into us from our childhood. So if you have written down the disempowering thoughts you've had, the thoughts that have made you feel stuck, helpless, and victimized, I now need you to challenge these disempowering beliefs. Ask yourself whether these thoughts are based on facts or distorted perception. Okay? A lot of conditional love, a lot of disempowering beliefs, a lot of disempowering interpretation, they are not based on fact, ladies and gentlemen. They are based on distorted perception. Now, disempowering narratives often involve what we call cognitive distortions, such as overgeneralization. This always happens to me. So you hear in your negative self-talk, you hear things like this always happens to me. Okay? You know, you will now make one incident represent your whole life. I think that's unfair on yourself, you know. So things like catastrophizing, things like this proves that I can't trust anyone again. Assuming the worst case scenario, Madam, Bros, America, Daniel, Henrietta, give love another chance. Stop holding on to this empowering belief. Now, there's also the self-blame. It is my fault, though. People come to my office and they say things like, "It's my fault." That means that you are taking excessive responsibility, unnecessary responsibility, to the event. So thoughts now become so in that loop where you're just saying to yourself, it's about me. If not that, thank you, Henrietta, for responding. Because you've got to recognize that these thoughts are not necessarily true. They're not helpful. Don't A lot of people that their immune system for love is totally depleted. And until your immune system, and what makes you be immune to future heartbreak is when you do that radical acceptance, is when you switch from a disempowering interpretation to an empowering one, which is a choice. Someone said, I have trust issues. Nobody has trust issues. You have a choice issue. Because going forward, someone said to me, Coach, you can't even believe it. The things I said to, my partner, I used it against me. I'm not going to be vulnerable again. I've heard you. I sympathize with you. But going forward, now you're in a relationship. Can you choose not to say some things until 6 months? Can you choose not to say some things until 1 year? Okay? Can you choose, Titi, come and cook for me? No. If you don't come and cook for me, it doesn't mean you love me. Okay, that's fine. If that's your definition for love, it looks like our values are parallel. So I bet me go. Okay? So you've got to reframe the incident. So shifting to an empowering narrative requires reframing how you interpret the situation. So instead of focusing on what went wrong or what you can't change, ask, what did I learn from this? What did I learn from this? Okay? How did I survive or cope with the situation? Because a lot of you didn't only ignore red flag, you ignored the red wall. It was a wall painted red, 100 meters tall, because when you shift from a disempowering narrative to an empowering narrative, you find out that you begin to give love another chance. You begin to gradually choose to be vulnerable, So when you do this, it also allows you to see the incident as something, you can learn from, you can grow through, rather than something that defines or defeats you. Nkechi, you broke up. Now break up, you break, keep person. Henrietta, now love, you love, do bad. Don't forget I said the truth is dating or courtship, the goal of it is not to end in marriage. The goal of it is to see whether it will end in marriage. Two different things. Okay? But because of the societal narratives that has become so absolute, people say things like, oh, my dating didn't work, I'm a failure. No, it's your dating that didn't work. Stop overgeneralizing, Start to simplify what has happened to you. I need to begin to tie it up now. So also, I also say to people, take responsibility for your future, because not the past. Now, let me explain. Why you can't control everything that has happened to you, you do have the choice on how you respond and what responsibility you are going to take for the future. Because an empowering narrative shifts the focus from I can't change what happened to me to I can control how I move on from this. And I'm going to say that again. The people, someone admitting, please can you admit there are quite some people waiting out there? Okay, let me say that again. Instead of saying when you're actually switching from a disempowering narrative to an empowering narrative, which is very important, this empowering narrative says, I will never recover from this. An empowering narrative says, this was painful, but I'm learning how to heal and move forward. I think someone needs to write that down. Please let me write that in the comment section. Okay? Because when you shift your focus, it empowers you. And don't forget also when you move from a disempowering narrative to an empowering narrative, it's like acknowledging your resilience. Because you got to recognize, the ways in which you've already survived or coped with the incidents. Because the reality is that some of you just downplay your resilience. Say things like, I faced challenges before. And I mean, say things like, just like what David said, I've killed the bear, I've killed the lion. I'm going to kill this Goliath. The same thing, say things like, I have passed WAEC now. When I didn't have money part two, I raised money to pay school fees. I'm going to overcome this also. That gives you a psychological resilience where you begin to attempt to not give love another chance. Okay? Now, examples of shifting narratives. So I'm going to mention a few so that I can relate further. This empowering narrative says, I've failed in that relationship, and now I feel like I'm not worthy of love. Have you heard people say things like, I'm not worthy of love? An empowering narrative is, that relationship was a learning experience. Nkechi, while it was painful, I now know more about what I need in a healthy relationship. Okay? This empowering narrative, I'm giving you examples now, says, I lost my job, and that proves I am a failure. The empowering narrative says, I lost my job. Oh, that was tough, but it's an opportunity for me to reassess my goals and position for what is better for me in the future. Let me give you another one. I'll give you one or two more. Because I want you to relate to it. This is an exercise I want you to do for yourself. This empowering narrative says, the guy betrayed me. Oh my goodness. So you say things like, this empowering narrative says things like, I was betrayed by a friend. We were childhood friends. I will never trust anyone again. An empowering narrative says like, well, I've been betrayed and that was hurtful, and now I know the importance of setting boundaries. I know the importance of choosing friends and ensuring that I am not desperate. Now, what are the benefits of empowering narrative? It reduces emotional suffering, like I said. It builds your resilience and all of that. So, as I begin to tie this up, finally, because I want to take questions. There's some questions that I think maybe Henrietta or someone has sent to me. I will ask whether I should take them. I should just wait for them to read it to me or something. One thing I want to leave with you is that you have the power of choice. Okay? And I want you to use it. It's like someone giving you're on a lifeboat, all right? And someone is giving you an opportunity to use your lifeline. Are you going to use your lifeline or you are going to use the lifeline, you're going to drop the lifeline in the boat? You've got that lifeline. It's your choice. The interpretation you give to what has happened to you, it's your choice. But it's quite difficult to be positive. Yeah. I know. It's quite positive. It's quite difficult. And that's why maybe I should also mention this. One of the things I'm going to do for people who attend today is to help you do, a 30 minutes analysis and projection. Okay? Because sometimes this is generic knowledge. Being able to access your data, being able to help you know your history. Because there's what's called relationship data. Everybody has a pattern. It's just that many people don't do deep introspection. They do very suboptimal introspection. Deep level introspection, you'll find out that why is it that you're attracting a narcissist? Why is it that you always attract people that will sleep with you after 3 months? Some of your relationships never exceeded 1 year. Never exceeded 6 months. Never exceeded, people who are just laid back and they're using, taking your money. There is always a pattern. All right. So, in case of whoever is in charge, the first 50 people who put down their name, I'm going to do a very discounted session for them, on helping them to. Now, if you are not heartbroken, please don't put down your name. Okay. But if you've been heartbroken before and you were struggling to change the narrative, you're struggling to give love another chance, then I'm talking to you. Now, and perhaps I don't want someone who was just heartbroken once. For you, if it's once, it can be a mistake. This will help you going forward. But if you have, series of breakups, people have disappointed you, it might be needful for you to put down your name. I'm not cheap, and my sessions can be quite premium. But because I'm partnering with Assad, I'm going to give very huge discounts to just help you do that. Some other people would also want to take it further. We have a part of our product is to, help people do emotional detox. A lot of you are not emotionally detox. You want to go into marriage as a journey, and your baggage. Dangote's Ghana must go cannot carry it. So you've got to do emotional detox before you now begin to go on that journey. Because if you don't do emotional detox, your immune system for loving the wrong person will pop up again. And you now begin to say, men are scum, this one. So don't forget also, I'm going to just give a few bits of the highlight. Nobody has trust issues. You have choice issues. Okay? So when you make choices, it's just for you to now say, going forward, I'll be more guarded. My boundaries will be in place, because God didn't create us to be isolated. God wants us to be able to bond, connect, even if you think you don't even want to marry. Because the greatest person who sabotages my relationship is you. You are, they say enemy, enemy, me, enemy. Because when people come to my office and they say, I want you to help me get ready for a relationship, I want to first find you because you have not found yourself. And you can't give what you don't have. So trust issues, that's one part. Another thing about trust issues is that once you have issues trusting anybody, no, you don't have issues trusting anybody. You have issues trusting yourself. That's the truth. It's about trusting yourself because you have made decisions over and over, so you don't trust your instinct again. You don't trust your matrix for choosing. You don't trust your ability to make decisions. So trust issues are not external. Wake up from that slumber. Trust issues are internal. You've got to first trust yourself. Is your trust quotient that now determines your filter for who is worthy to be trusted and who is not worthy to be trusted. I hope this was helpful. Try to pack a lot of things together in 45 minutes. Thank you, Henrietta. Thank you, Dari. I'll probably just take a few questions now before we bring it to an end. Henrietta said, but men are scum. That's overgeneralizing. Okay, I'm sure Dari is not scum. I'm not scum. You dated only one man. So this is, sorry, before you take the question. So I've heard people say things like that. That's overgeneralizing. Because, yes, because you dated maybe a Yoruba demon. It broke your heart. Have you dated a Japanese man? Have you dated a Igbo man? Have you dated a English man? Have you dated American? Have you dated, The reality is you use one person to now generalize all of the picture. Okay, my own man is not a scum. Oh, thank you, Olushola, for countering that. So let's avoid overgeneralizing. Igbo men are worse. So you need to register for the session because I need you to detox your emotion. Because some of those statements are coming from someone that is not healed, someone that is not yet emotionally detoxed. You need to detox. You need to look at your patterns. Then you can step on the love board again, and you now begin to find love again. Thank you for your time. I'll take a few questions before we go today. Henrietta, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tunji. That was really, 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 really enlightening. I learned a lot. It was really fun and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for today. So I'm sure we have questions and from so many people. So I would move to June to just
Okay, there
ask.
were some questions that were sent to me yesterday. Should I jump on them or you want to read them out?
Okay, You can answer the question, sir. You can
Okay.
jump up.
So the first one here says that how do I identify a narcissist? You know, I always say that narcissists, how to identify them, there are a few matrix. One of the is that they can be charming at the beginning. They know how to do that. And part of the early signs include constant self-focus, a lack of empathy. They always have subtle manipulations, you know. Also, they have tendencies to have gaslighting tendencies. So you got to watch out for behavior like seeking excessive admiration, not taking responsibility for their mistakes. You know, they make you feel small. They're insecure about your progress. You know, so just to answer the question as brief as possible because of the brevity, because there are about 12 questions here. So those are some of the things. But you see, let me tell you something that beyond the matrix is there is a level of emotional health you will have that you will not stay too long around someone who is narcissist because it takes and it's a combination of a lot of things: social intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, you know. And I'm not saying that comes because maybe you pray 12 hours. Everyone's got intuitive ability. The challenge most times is that we've not trained our intuition enough to know right from wrong. So it's when we want to get married, say, God, let it be the right person. No, you can't use that as a spare, God as a spare tire, you know. So that's how to identify a narcissist. There are many other things, but those are the basics. Someone also said, can you love again without trusting? Yes, it's possible. Let me put it this way: healing and addressing trust issues, you know, with a professional will help you understand where those feelings come from. So I need you to take time to heal, establish a strong sense of self before jumping into a new relationship. Like I said, you know, there's a part of the good book that says that no weapon formed or fashioned against you will prosper. There are some people, is the weapon they fashion against themselves that is prospering. You the one they fashion against you will not prosper, but you are self-sabotaging yourself, and that requires professional help. And that's why I'm doing a discounted session for people that are in this session. Okay. Someone said something about rekindling love, you know, and I always say that when we're talking addressing the issue of trust, you see, let me put it this way: being confrontational, um, being able to express your displeasure. There's something about being assertive and not being aggressive. Okay, there are times when people are doing things to you, and because you are a people pleaser, you just want to always make people feel good. You already have an issue. Because if you don't deal with your people pleasing quotient, you will be pleasing people that you should have chased away. Like I always say, some guys are bad nego, they should go. Okay? So then I have another question here. How do I move on from a broken relationship that was in talking stage? Now, even if a relationship ends early, it can hurt. You are grieving a relationship because once you begin to like someone, you begin to share your emotions, you begin to share the picture of the future together. Give yourself time to process your emotions. I always say that. And reflect on what you learned. I mean, this period of self-reflection, um, it will help you to heal, grow before moving on. Another person says, how do I overcome hurt and regret? I always say that healing from past relationship requires acknowledging your pain. I mentioned that in walking through it, radical acceptance. Therapy will help you explore these feelings and prevent you projecting your history on your future. Okay? Another person says, how do I deal with a partner's bad character? If you if that's a concern for you, I think that you're already in the wrong thing because after a while, that there's no improvement and it's something that gives you concern and is not seeking help. You know, you got to make up your mind to manage what you are seeing, which means that your cortisol you'll be around him and there's something that is always just not making you comfortable. You'll feel not at peace. You will, I mean, because you don't have, you know, but nobody can change anybody. Because I've seen people saying that when I marry him, I will change. You can't change anybody. If he's not making effort to change, or he's not even accepting the fact that he's got character flaws, you've got a choice to open the back door and leave. Okay? Because there are many people who are patching it up, and at the last minute, yeah, nobody can change anybody's values. Nobody can change anyone's character flaws. They must be willing to do it themselves. And forgiveness can be powerful in healing. I don't know who this is for, but it's not. On my last post, I put it on my Instagram page. Anyway, for more tips on Give Love Another Chance, you can follow me on at TJ Babajide. Moderator, can you put it in the comment section at TJ? I have a couple of series I just did now. Give Love Another Chance on my Instagram page at TJ BABAJID. They will bless you out of the sauce. So forgiveness is not about the other person. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person will die. So when you forgive, you are not indulging the flaws of the other person. You are empowering yourself. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's my Instagram page. Follow for more. Another question here. Someone said, how do I know myself for a healthier relationship? I hope I'm getting the questions. Now, understanding your needs, your values, and your boundaries will help you enter relationship with clarity. Many people are not clear, because self-awareness helps you to avoid unhealthy patterns and fosters a stronger connection with your partner. Like I said, when people have issues in relationship, it's not trust issues. It's not about the other person, it's about you. The question sometimes should be, how do I begin to trust my instinct again? How do I begin to trust my ability to choose again? Someone asked me, another question is, when do I disclose a life-threatening illness? It's important to disclose this when the relationship becomes serious and you're trying to build trust, because open communication early on can prevent misunderstanding, and it can avoid you to not have emotional connection that will not last. Okay? So don't get carried away enjoying, the attention while you know that there's something you're hiding away from him. I mean, quick illustration. 4 or 5 years ago, I did premarital counseling. By the way, I did premarital counseling. So if you're looking at someone to help you do your premarital counseling, just reach out to Assad. They will come and give you discounted, rates. Anyway, so I did the premarital counseling. I didn't know them. I wasn't mentoring them. They just paid for my services and I did it. Very society wedding in Lagos. So both of them, they went to Dubai for holiday. Then in between, the sister of the bride who had introduced them called me and said, Coach, there's a problem. I said, so what's the problem? He said, my sister did not disclose to her husband that she had, I don't want to mention, she had a particular mental health or mental illness that she was managing with drugs. So when they got to Dubai, there was a relapse, and the guy, I think it was epilepsy or something like that. The guy found out. So the guy, thankfully, they have healthcare there. They called the hospital came, took her away. They asked a few questions, he couldn't answer them. So we had to call the mother-in-law to say, oh, your daughter, gave symptoms of epilepsy. The woman forgot that they packaged the girl for, the guy. And said, oh, what's it back in Nigeria? The guy was livid, was like, what? Back and forth, they found out from the hospital. The guy got back to Nigeria and said he's not doing it again. It was a lot of problem. I had to drive to Banana Island, settle issues. Today they're separated. So it's better you are hated for the truth or you are temporarily loved for hiding something. Okay? So for the person that has that question also, there's a flavor of desperation there. Because this is the way to look at it. Put yourself in the person's shoes. That's empathy. How would you feel if someone tells you that you have an illness? So if he's going to stay with it, let him know that both of you are on the same page. I'll give you another example. When I wanted to get married to my wife, I was on the other side of the world. I was active. So at a point, I got an STD that I didn't take care of. So when we were some of those, I think I got a job, so I was going to do medical. Then they said to me that it was going to be impossible for me to give birth. So when I go back, we're still in courtship. I said to my fiancée, now my wife, I said, well, doctor said I can't give birth. Let's separate now. So that he said, no, we're going to stay together in this. And then even if you don't have children, I'll stay with you. Wow. I kept, even me, I was still doubting myself. I was like, are you going to stay in this and all of that? She stayed. Today we have 2 kids. But we knew that we were going to go into this together. Okay? Another person says, why exes came back? Why? Sometimes exes return due to unresolved feelings. So some exes come back because they want a closure. So some exes come back because of fear of being alone or realizing what they lost. However, it's essential to evaluate whether revisiting the relationship is healthy or just familiar. Yeah, you've got to make up your mind. Sometimes you need the professional third party to help you look at it because when your emotions are involved in decision making, emotions shut down your logic. And for some of you who argue intercourse, courtship and dating time is not intercourse time, it's interview time. When intercourse overrides interview time, you'll find out that you will be nullifying the red flags. Because once your emotions are involved, when you are together, you're looking at how to remove each other's bra, boxers, and all of that, you'll just find out that at some point, when the red flags are there, they're going to ignore it. Now, I hear all those conversations on social media, but that's the reality. Go and Google it. All right. So people say, "Oh, I want to test what I'm going to marry." And if you cannot test kidney, you can't test his liver, you can't test his pancreas, you can't even test how long he will live long. Don't do selective hypocrisy. You if you want to test, if your goal is testing, you should also test his brain. Test how long he will live now. Because I see that narrative on social media. Me, I cannot marry who I cannot test to. Madam Tester, bro tester. Are you an electrician? So that's the reality. And some men, I've had men, I mentor men, and sometimes they say, man, I wish we didn't pull up our pants because after we even had sex, I'm just like, oh, right price self don't reduce. Someone asked, how do I handle testing kits? How do I handle right person, wrong timing? Yes, this can happen when external factors like personal growth, career, emotional readiness aren't aligned. It's possible, yeah, but you see, reconnecting in the future depends on both partners' growth and timing. In my part 1, part 2, I started having feelings for my wife, but we were friends then. But the timing was wrong. Thankfully, we had good mentors then that said, what are you doing with the relationship in part 1? In part 1, you're still very confused. You're in a new environment. You are like a kite just flying around. And we were able to hold on to the third semester in our 4th year before we got engaged. That story for another time. All right. So it's important for you it can be a one size fits all. But the reality is that once you begin to feel that it's the right person, the wrong timing, I think both of you should be able to have that difficult conversation, sincere one, because if you go into something that won't last, you will blame yourself for it invariably, right? Then another person said, out supporting each other as a couple. So the reality is supporting each other is a matter of love. You cannot love without giving, and you cannot give without, you can give without loving, but there's no way you love someone and you not give to the person. So I feel that for support to be holistic, there must be open communication, there must be listening, there must be empathy, because you must avoid competition, you must focus on uplifting each other. Let me tell you, in the midst of all of this, let me tell you something I did say in the midst of my conversation. The reality is that the greatest challenge for your relationship is the family you're coming from. Yeah. How do I mean? So a lot of times, when people are in courtship, it's not the guy and the girl or the husband and wife that are in conflict. No, it's their beliefs that are not in alignment. They're having belief clash, they're having value clash. And no one is an original owner of their values. All values are inherited, right? So it becomes very important for both of you to, I mean, this guy's lived with his parents for 25 years, 30 years, 22 years. You are coming in one day and you're saying you want to change his values. How now? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So it's important that both of you, that's why I said courtship time is interview time, not intercourse time. That's why you should talk about. So why me? You have many female friends. Why me? Why now? You know, what are, it's interview. You know, why is it that in the midst of your friends, I'm the one you chose? Okay? What was it like growing up? Let me tell you the truth. As much as the African culture has its benefits, it also has its limits. In the African culture, you hear things like parents will say things like, I'm helping you carry your child. No, no, you are carrying your child. In the African culture, you hear things like a man should be in the kitchen, you know. In the 21st century, you know, I believe that competition has died. Collaboration is the future. You both of you need to be able to come to terms with the fact that it's not just about the roles. The kitchen is not for women. The kitchen is for anyone that is hungry. Okay? So some of those old white fables, some of those beliefs, they have expired. They need of, like I said, okay, I was in a session yesterday. A lot of the things we believe is like operating system. iPhone 16 just came out, and the iOS is better than 13 and 7. Some of us were carrying iPhone 7, we were iOS. We want to enter into relationship with someone with I'm sharpening tables. Bisala, thank you. It's necessary. Yeah, you know, you're entering into a relationship with someone whose OS is 05 or 012, you know. So yeah, not everyone is ready for this. Yes, I know. But a lot of unlearning. You know, they said the ladies of the 21st century is not he that cannot read or write, it's he that cannot unlearn, we learn and learn. You know, so it's important that that's why I talked about emotional detox and knowing your pattern, because your patterns are there. There's what is called data. Some of you do data science or you did something that's when data evidence terminates arguments. Okay. Someone said here, criteria for what are the criteria for unconditional love? Unconditional love is based on mutual respect. You know, teaching skills is a survival skill and not a gender space. Thank you, Amaria, for putting it so on point. Thank you. You know, lost my thought. So unconditional love is based on mutual respect, acceptance, trust. You know, both partners must be willing to work on relationship, grow together, accept each other's imperfection. Let me tell you something. Some of you grew up in a home where your parents always wanted justice. But you know what I always say? Every time you fight for your justice, you will lose your peace. Some people have a basket of justice like this. I won the argument. I told her that's not the way it should be. I told him, you know, justice and peace, they don't reside in the same home. So if you're going to be in a relationship, you must transcend the smallness of black and white. You must transcend the smallness of um, just what is right and wrong. Relationship requires three things: transcending right, wrong, but needful. Now, for the Muslims, you might not be able to relate to this, but those of you that are Christians, that's my faith, and that's an example I can pull out from it. Jesus Christ didn't have to die. Jesus Christ needed to die. Okay? I've been married for 17 going to 18 years. Okay? The reality is, every time you fight for your justice, you will lose your peace. I have said sorry when I am right. That's what I'm saying when I said you must transcend the smallness of right and wrong. Was it right to say sorry? No. Was it wrong to say sorry? No. Was it needful to say sorry? Yes. Because the sorry is an end goal. Peace is one of the core values that we subscribe to. And sometimes, oh my goodness, we need to do a part two of this. Sometimes you need to come to terms with the fact that whoever raised you, the genetics of the environment that raised you, of the people that raised you, the fruit will not fall far from the tree. But sir, where's the balance between justice and peace? So let me put it in a way that you guys will be able to understand it. In critical areas, for example, decision making, perhaps let me rephrase that. So in relationship, I believe strongly that because you don't want to feel slighted in the long run, yeah. So in relationship, I believe that especially when you are married, when you are courting, you're still throwing things around. Let me help people who are married. For those who are married, the truth be told, there's what is called systems intelligence. It's only systems that guarantees an outcome. Okay? Now, when both of you say you want to marry each other, part of what I do in premarital counseling is to help you put together the 8 different systems that make a marriage work. Okay? Then I help you put together a family constitution. And I help you put together the values. Find what are family values. Because if you don't have family value, you will not know what is right from wrong. Because there's what we call the relationship term. And it's not about who is right, it's about what is right. Okay, because there are times when your husband feels is right, the wife feels is right. But if there are no values to regulate it, there will be a conflict. Now, going back to your question of family values, yeah. If there are no family values, so when I'm rebuking my son, I'll say to him, disrespecting your sister is violating one of the family values, which is respect. So I'm not just out of my emotions, go and apologize to your sister. No, he understands that he's violating a value. Okay, but the reality also now is there are times when I put my feet down, especially when it comes to decision that has to do with family. When you buy a property, I'm a decision maker. In systems intelligence, the person who has skills in an area should handle it. The popularity of my home, my wife lost her mom when she was early, so she's not a regular kitchen person. You know, when we were younger, I did more of the kitchen. I did more of this. Market runs. I the one that call, oh, please, our rice at 20, bring a bag of rice. Okay, we got someone that bought pepper for us. Now, that is contradictory to the regular, woman should be, in the kitchen, a man should be in charge of finances. No, my wife is a better saver. Family finances is with her. I'm a planner. Running the home is on my shoulder. That's systems intelligence, where both of you have been able to come to terms with the fact that this is my strength, this is your weakness, and we're meant to complement each other. All right? So, having said that, there are times when decision has to be made and I have to put my that time feet down. But when it comes to what do you want to eat? You want to eat rice. Can we afford you taking a bath? Okay, yes. For peace to reign, I can overlook that. But then I say, no, there's nobody that's going to, if I eat rice, everybody eat rice in this house. That's the example. Okay? Is the ability to understand that it's not everything you put your feet down. There are matters you have to put your feet down. But also there are times when you will say right, you will say sorry when you are wrong. You will say sorry when you are right. Not all the time. But you say someone said who should say sorry first? The wife side, the person who is wife side. It's not about the gender. It's about who understands the values that binds the home together. Okay? So someone says, oh no, me, I want justice every time. It's okay, hold on to your justice, but just know that you will lose your peace. Because once you begin to, every time you have a basket full of justice like this, I want arguments. There are times when you have to have difficult conversations. There are times when you have to look away from those conversations and say, okay, I don't agree with you that that's the best option, but for peace to reign, I would allow you to have your way. That's peace over justice. Okay? And there are times when, for example, people who know me knows that my wife is, the prayer person in our house. She's a prayer warrior. All right? I can never get to a point where I'm trying to, even my kids know, when you need wisdom in the family, come to that. When you need prayer, go to mom. When you want someone to stand with you in prayer, go to mom. Okay? Another good example is I'm the planner. My wife can never get to my level of planning. She doesn't have the capacity. House order. My wife knows where boxers will be, singlet. I can never, it's not possible. So I submit that area of the family to her. Now, for that being said, when she says, I feel that we should arrange our boxers here, it doesn't look like what I want, but I have over the years known that that's our strength. So rather than try to be egocentric and say, no, boxers should be on the right side, I will choose peace over justice. That's an example. Okay? So sometimes, and it's also about social awareness, the ability to even read the body, read the room. There are times when I've said yes, 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 yes to things, and like, okay, for this one, I can be flexible about my yes or my no. So it's about the ability to read the room. We call it social intelligence. So it's a combination of, you know, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, spiritual intelligence, because ultimately the goal is not about who is right or wrong. The goal is about what is right. So in our constitution, it's written there, we don't shout to resolve issues. Okay? So I don't want to turn it into a marriage issue. This, I know most of you are just in courtship, but the reality is that be careful when every time you want to have justice. Because no, I get the person who says, "I can be taken for granted." No, it's not about you being taken for granted. For example, you can't even say, "I put your hands inside my pants and I should just piece over this." No, at that point, you do the needful. But I'm saying, be careful. Know the pattern of your decision making. There's some of you, you've been raised by a single mother and she's tough. You know, they call her kickball, kickback. Everybody says you're Margaret Thatcher. That kind of a person will struggle to make sure peace is superior to justice. Because you have grown up in a home where it's always about, I'm going to be right, I have to be right. You know, so there are times when you understand that at this point, this is not a life-threatening issue. Why should we argue over what should I wear? What should I argue over? There is vegetable in the soup in the fridge. There is a wedding in the fridge. Okay, you want to wait? Oh, you want? Because some of our parents, you will notice that some of their fights were avoidable, and it was because they sometimes the African home does want a man to always have justice. A lot of our fathers were the lion of Judah of their own home. So technically, many people grew up and nobody could question them. All right. Our time is fast spent. There are two more questions here. Discussing sensitive topics before marriage. Like I said, honest conversations about fundamental topics like faith, values, finances, family dynamics, childbearing. There are things that you should do in courtship and dating time. Then also another person here says, what are the signs of readiness for marriage? That's a long list. So readiness for marriage involves emotional maturity. When am I going to do a preparatory class? Well, so this is what happens. Usually I do a one-on-one session for premarital class. But if I have a number, I can split what my 1 hour is worth over. So the times I do collective, but at some point I still have to do personal, because the journey of love can never be the same. I need to be able to use your relationship data, look at your patterns to help you now project a better future. You can get my number from the ASAP team. So emotional maturity, the ability to have a honest conversation with yourself. Financial stability is also very important because I've seen a relationship where the romance does not have finance. This can be terrible. A willingness to compromise, shared vision, someone who has a clear picture of their future, healthy esteem. I'm not saying being perfect, because already this society makes marriage to be overrated. Let me tell you the truth, marriage is overrated. Those of you who are single, you should be curious. Single people are running into the house. They're like, I want to marry. Meanwhile, some people they are running away. You should be, what's in that house? You should ask questions, So the signs of readiness, it's a long list, but that's just a few I think I have mentioned. And when I talk about readiness, it's first about you. I want to marry Bisola. Don't worry, just take my number from Assad. I'm sure we can work out something. It's first about you. Are you willing to travel light? What baggage have you carried from your childhood? Have you done emotional detox? Are you emotionally well? There are many people that are not well. The fact that you have good makeup, the guy is tall, that can handsome, He's got a first degree, and all that. Does not mean that he's fit to be married. I've helped a lot of churches redesign the premarital counseling curriculum because a lot of the people, that's a lot, there's no one who has come to me, maybe, let me say 85, 90% of people who come out to reach out to me. There's one of our product called marital distress therapy. There's none of them most of them always say, oh, we did counseling in XY church. So I tell them, what did they teach you? By the time they tell me what it is, I know it's dead on arrival. Because what counseling does is it uses what it uses for Oriental for biomi. Now, what's the difference between what counseling does and what coaching and therapy does? So therapy helps you heal helps you elicit your relationship data, heal from the baggage, then you can now begin to travel light. Coaching now helps you project the future, being able to realign your expectation, because I see too many, unrealistic expectation about people who want to get married. Because some of you say, oh, I want all that can answer. Please let me ask you, have they used tallness to collect money from bank? Yeah? Have they used handsomeness? The way this guy is fine, he just give her $1 million. Now, I'm not saying marry someone who you are not attracted to, but some of those metrics are overrated. Okay? If you see me when I was single, there's none of you here that will say yes to me. None of you. My neck was long. My bum was flat. My cheeks were in. So when I see some of my approaches, I say, oh, I want to marry someone like my mentor, like Ole, yeah? Because this is finished work. Chamaka. Let me tie it up here. I'm not sure whether there are still more questions. God, when I need I do really. Henrietta, the floor is yours. I'm sure we've exceeded our time, but I'm sure it was worth your time. Thank you so very much for having me today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tunji. Like, I really cannot say I've learned so much. And I'll stop saying men are scum, even if some of them are.
When is part
So,
two? Assad, the acting when is part two. So talk to Assad people. We can
we'll
do part
fix something. Definitely. We'll fix that.
two.
I have just one question, a personal question. Earlier on, you mentioned something about being vulnerable, when you let your partner starts using your vulnerable traits to, get back to you. So my question is, how do we differentiate being vulnerable and being cautious when it comes to a relationship? So that's
Okay, so after you put together all the things I've mentioned to you, it's important for you to come to terms with the fact that you shouldn't use your hurt as a blockage for not being vulnerable again. Vulnerability has to be gradual. Start making friends with opposite sex, but make friends with boundaries. For example, like the illustration I made, someone says, oh, I gave you my money, I gave you my body, I can't wait for part two. We'll do part two, don't worry. I gave you my money, I gave you my body, and then you took advantage of me. Okay. What else did you lose? My time. Okay. Is going forward, is your time in his hands? No. Is your checkbook does he still have your password? No. So going forward, you can choose to love, but with boundaries. Okay? What people do is that they don't even want to try and love again. Some of you, because you have been so hungry to get into a relationship, the guy knows everything about you. In 3 weeks, they know that you were raped, your daddy is this, you because you want acceptance, you're pouring out yourself. Going
yeah.
forward, can you now say, I'm not going to go and cook in anybody's house? My money, I'm not going to give any guy that I have a relationship with till 6 months' time. So it's about being able to bounce back, gradually break the circle of what you were doing before. Okay? So it's loving, but with boundaries. Right? Then also, when I talk about relationship data, it's important for you to look at the guy you dated. Why did you? So many people don't tell me that, oh, why did I attract that kind of a person? The bigger question is not why did he break your heart? I feel that the bigger question is why are you attracting that kind of a person? Because the relationship is data, and I do data-driven decisions. So I help people look at their data. Look at how, you have consistently made decisions about a kind of a guy. So going forward, love but put boundaries. Love but be careful with your choices. And like I said, if you don't detox emotionally, you will look like someone whose immune system is down. Malaria will strike again, even though they just gave you drip. You just find out that it looks like this thing is not working. It's not that it's not working, it's because you yourself need to first find yourself. You need to learn your patterns and you need to unlearn. And that's why if you don't know your patterns, you will be in that loop and guys will keep breaking your heart. They'll keep sleeping with you and leaving you. They keep him and leave you because you want to marry. And some of them they have the lines. If you don't give me your body, I'm gonna bye bye. You're an Abednego. Go. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you
Good.
so much today. Thank you so much for the wonderful insights that you've just poured upon us this afternoon. And we really look forward to having a part two with you. So people
Absolutely.
else. So thank you so much, Mr. Tunji. We
The
really
pleasure is
appreciate.
all mine. So for those who put down their names, Asad will reach out to me to see how we can put something together because the solution can never be generic. It has to be bespoke. What I need to work with Jennifer will never be what I need to do with Mary. All right. And that's why this will broaden your awareness. At least if you don't take anything from this, understand that you have a choice. When you know you have a choice, in the after the events, don't mistake events with choices. They broke your heart. Okay, that's the event. The choice to make out of it is to have an empowering perspective to what has happened to you. I look forward to working with you. Don't forget also to follow me on Instagram at TJ Babajide for more insights. And I probably would. You can also send me a DM or reach out to Assad. I'm certain I will respond to you. Thank you again, Assad. I look forward to
Thank
seeing
you
you
so
soon.
much, sir.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
Have a
Thank you
Bye.
so
lovely
much, sir.
day.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dari. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Dari.
yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, once again, and I hope you all learned something today. I learned a lot. At least now I know that I won't stop saying men are scum, even if, like I said, so thank you so much today. I will move to June to just give us a quick overview on and closing remarks. So thank you so much.
Okay, so good evening, everyone, and I'm sure that we have benefited greatly from this session with Dr. Babajide. Thank you so much again, sir, and thank you for everything that you have empowered us with, actually, concerning the narrative shifts in mindsets, radical acceptance, and so many critical nuggets that we received from you, sir. I'm sure everyone has learned a lot, especially about how to approach relationships today, which actually keys into our next training for October, which is about strengthening interpersonal relationships. So if you check the chat box, you see information on October's free mental health training. So please make sure to utilize that to your benefit as much as possible. And information will also be provided on how you can access further resources. So, sorry, excuse me. So I think that we have, okay. All right, so Henrietta has responded to the person who asked if the session is recorded. So I'm glad that this session has come to a wonderful end with many of our questions being asked and the resources still available for us to listen again. So please, please, please take as much advantage of that. And I hope that everyone has an absolutely lovely day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And have a lovely day ahead. And also don't forget to join next month's training, how to strengthen interpersonal skills, how to communicate effectively. We've learned about relationship today. So let's also join next month on how you can communicate with your friends, your parents, your spouses, your boyfriend, your girlfriend effectively while being heard and also by communicating respectfully. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And please do have a lovely day ahead today. And we really look forward to seeing you, every one of you, next month, and also for the part 2 of Give Love Another Chance. Thank you so much and have a lovely day, everyone.